Welcome to the Center for U.S. War Veterans Oral Histories at the National Guard Militia Museum of New Jersey in Seagirt, a partner of the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project. Today is May 2nd, 2018. I am Carol Fowler, Director of the Center. My honored veteran today is Harold J. Kauffmann, who served with the United States Army Ordnance in World War II in the Pacific Theater of Operation. He served from July of 1943 until April of 1946 and was a tank chassis mechanic.
Yeah.
Thank you for wanting to be here today, Harold.
Oh, engine rebuilder.
An engine room?
Engine rebuilder.
Engine rebuilder.
Yeah. That was more than the tanks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Automotive engine rebuilder. Harold, your eyewitness account is considered a primary historical source and a valuable contribution to our Veteran History Project. Good morning and welcome.
Hi.
We should say how you heard about the project.
Through Linda.
Sergeant Linda Chapin, who works here on the base with me.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we need to go back to life prior to service. You had been in high school when Pearl Harbor was bombed, 1941.
41, yeah, just going into high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did you live, Elizabeth?
All my life until I moved down. 90 years in Elizabeth, 2.5 and 3 in Hazlet.
Okay. So what was life like? How did life change once we went to war for you and your family?
Oh, a lot of things would change, of course. With rationing, you couldn't buy gas. You had to have tickets and coupons for every, even the grocery store. To buy a can of beans, you had to have a coupon, you know. And in the Army, at least that was one thing we didn't have to worry about what you ate, you know. And that was one of the big things, was the rationing. And there was shortages of supplies of all kinds all the time. Sugar was a big item. And but once I got in the Army, then I kind of lost track of what was going on.
How did you come to be in the Army?
I got drafted.
Okay. And how did your family feel about that? Well, everyone was getting
Everybody
drafted.
was going,
right.
you know.
Who was left in your family? Who was left at home?
Well, just my mother and father. My sister was married, had her own, you know, they had their own operation.
And where did the Army first send you?
Fort Dix. And then from Fort Dix to Aberdeen Proving Ground. Yeah, that was like sending the fox to guard the hen house, you know, 'cause that's where I wanted to be.
How so? How
I was
so?
into mechanics up to my ears.
Had you already had experience in that work?
Well, I had 5 hours a day in high school. We had a special course. They call it pre-induction courses. I chose the automotive. And then I had regular classes in the same thing. Plus I had, up to that time, I had 3 motorcycles. I went through 3. And I took them apart so many times.
What kind of adjustment was it to go from civilian to military life?
Not really, because, excuse me, I was always a home type, but when I went out, I'd like to go, you know. And back then, as a kid growing up, they didn't worry much about you. How you went, did all the things you wanted to do.
What was your opinion of your officers?
Well, some were great, and fortunately, were few that weren't.
So was that considered the South?
The what?
Maryland? Was that an adjustment to go from being a Yankee to the South, right?
Oh, well, the problem was, there was always a tension here between the Northerners and the Southerners,
Okay.
a little bit of it. And I ran into, on Okinawa, I ran into a bad situation with that.
Oh, okay, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Tell me some memories from boot camp.
Oh, well, it was basic training is what they call it.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Boot
basic
camp
training.
Navy. Excuse me. I start talking, I get the frogs coming up. Okay.
Basic training.
Yeah, it's what you expected. I trained myself for about a year because I knew chances are I'd have to go in. They used to ride my motorcycle in the rain just to do something crazy, dangerous. Yeah, I knew I'd have to go. Mentally, I was all prepared.
And when you graduated, did your family come to that?
You mean what?
Your parents, did they come to your graduation?
Where, high school or Army?
Army.
No. No, there wasn't any graduation, I remember.
There wasn't, okay.
No, there wasn't.
What was there after you were done? What happened?
They kept me at Aberdeen. They sent me to what they call cadre school, non-commissioned officer. He came out with corporal rating. And it's what they call provisional. They would, at any point, they could take them away. They weren't permanent unless, for some reason, they determined that they were permanent. But so I spent about 21 months down at Aberdeen program. And they sent me to school. They sent me to tank school. They sent me to engine school. They used to send me. You had two sections to the camp. Where the recruits came in and they were trained, basic automotive and other skills. And they had basic training, technical training, field training, then they were shipped out. And then coming out of cadre school, I was assigned to the 69th Regiment. That's where the guys came in every week and got shipped out. So basically, I've worked from that point, the 69th Regiment. They would send me on assignment to what was called the Proving Ground section. That was completely different from the training section. And they always sent me to the tank shop where they did all the experimental work. And there was a German Tiger tank in there. And I had seen it on a railroad flat car a year before, going through Union, New Jersey. And the train stopped, and there was a distinctive marking on it. You couldn't just, you'd never forget it. And when I got down here, they had to tear it off. And they had to take the transmission out. There was a bad gear, and those guys down there, they were able to make a new gear. Now, that's metric, and everything was a standard American, and yet they were able to work with the metric and make a whole brand new gear for it. And that was, what a piece of iron that was. And they had a big Maybach V12 diesel engine in it. At night, when they went up to the Churchville test area, they used to test tanks 24 hours a day. You were in the camp, if you were anywhere near the road, when they fired that thing up down the proving ground, so you could hear that, oh, what a noise, it was fantastic. And it had all steel treads, we had rubber. You hear those things, whoa, in the night, whoa, there goes the monster. So eventually they sent it, they had a museum in Aberdeen. I was there in 1990. But the Tiger was sent back to Germany for refurbishment for $1 million. What I understand, it's back at Aberdeen, so I might go there and see if I can see it. An old buddy.
Right.
Kiss it on the side.
21 months is a long time, so I think we should talk. We should kind of stay on
what
that.
I could figure out, before they caught up to me, the war with Germany was over. So what happened, I think, what I've been able to determine, I might be wrong, Washington said anything you got hanging around, everybody's going to Japan. But everything was an invasion of Japan.
True, right.
And everything was concentrating on that now. The people were tired of the war. And then they're hearing that there's going to be some estimates as many as 1 million casualties or 250,000 killed, all this stuff, see? So everybody's getting, so when you went, eventually I had to leave. They gave me orders. They took the stripes away, and I became what's called casual. You don't belong to anybody. You're just in the Army, and you're in transit, and that's it. You don't have a regular outfit. You don't belong to an engineering or a CB or anything. You're just there.
And what did they call that? I didn't understand what you said.
The casual, they call. You're in the casual status. You don't belong to anybody.
Oh, you're
just
casual.
in the Army. Casual. Yeah.
No, I never heard of that. Okay.
Oh yeah, but World War II, that was a big term. You're casual. So that's the trip out. That's a casual.
Getting back to Aberdeen, what was a typical day like for you? Like, what time did you wake up?
Well, with everybody else, and originally, the work at the 69th Regiment was, you had to take these guys on work detail. In the Army, you just don't sit around all day unless you're on the ship, then there's not much of you for you to do. But when you're out in the camp, everybody goes to work. They find something, but you're going to go to work all day. Keep you busy. Don't let you moping around in the barracks. Yeah. So I used to take, one of the best jobs I had, I used to take 21 casuals because these guys were not assigned yet. They're waiting their orders to ship out. And we got a new load in every week. You know. And by the end of the week, they'd all be gone. So I used to take 21 casuals to the proving ground section. I reported to the lieutenant in charge. Okay, he gave them all their work. The only thing that was needed for was noontime. I had a special pass, 21 casual non-com for lunch. And that was all I was responsible. Bring them down, bring them to lunch, and the rest of the time I was out there getting in trouble. And that's where they were doing all the testing on everything. But the way the proving ground worked, in one respect, everything that fired was manufactured, was sent, maybe not every, they might have had some other camps doing it, was sent to Aberdeen. They had these setups where they would test them, make sure everything's working. They would crate them, and then they would be shipped out to the troops. So I remember one item, 40 millimeters Bofors anti-aircraft guns. They went 24 hours a day at night, always these tracers and the noise. They never stopped. But as the thing went along, what kind of got me was, I wasn't too happy with it. Every 300 that they crated and shipped out, 250 had a red stripe down the side. They went to the Russians. The other 50 went to us. There's other things, not at proving ground, but overseas that I saw I didn't like either. But that's just one of the things.
Right.
But I had a lot of free time. Well, they didn't care what I did. All I had to do was take the guys down. You know? So I befriended a guy from Brooklyn. He was the engineer for the switch engine in the yards pushing the freight cars around. Well, this guy, he could read a laundry list and you bust out laughing. He was one of those people. So it was great to be in riding around in the cab with him. You know? So he got tired of that. Then I found the motors. That was where I got in trouble. Those slips. One of
I got it here.
Yes, the two nurses in the old
Aberdeen,
Indian.
Maryland train station event,
No,
December.
two nurses in the no. it's
Yes,
not on
two
there.
nurses and an old Indian.
Yeah, that, should I tell them?
It's your video.
Oh,
This will be watched by your grandchildren and your...
yeah, but they're liable to come and shoot me.
The grandchildren? Oh.
Anyway, so I was looking around. They had a sort of a semi-junkyard, and I found this Indian with a sidecar, and they had obviously, they'd use it as a hack to run parts and tools and stuff back and forth to wherever they were needed. And the sidecar was full of junk. It was a 5-gallon pail of grease on the front seat, and a big coil of rope was all greasy. There was all kinds of junk, old pieces of exhaust and God knows what else, and I cleaned it all out. I said, I wonder if I can get this sucker running. But it had gas, had oil, okay. Part I got it running. Oh, I'm cruising all around the proving ground section. I was watching them, 75 millimeter, where they tested them. They had a big row of them. They were going all day. So I'm cruising along one day, and I see two nurses standing on the corner. There was a bus. They were going to the dispensary, so I pulled up to the curb, and I asked them, "Hey, girls, would you like a ride?" They said, "Yeah." And they were about like maybe 40-ish. They weren't kids, you know. So they got bundled into the sidecar. They had their uniforms, they were all ready to go to work. They were riding around. I'm showing them all the places. I knew where all the action was. And, you know, they were really enjoying it. So we pulled up in front of the dispensary, and I got them up and went around and I helped them out. And I went back and got on the bike. And I had to walk up a walkway to a little porch with, you know, with a roof over it. And I'm looking as they're walking up the walk. All that grease was down the back of their uniforms. They're going on shift. And you can't get that out. You can't get that out. I don't care what kind of soap you use.
Oh dear.
So they got up on the porch and they turned and they're waving. That was the first motorcycle in the history of automotive that flew. I took off out of there like a B-29. And I took it back where I put it back where I found it. I threw all the junk in and I left it there. I think the nurses are still looking for me.
Oh no.
I was a bad boy, so that's some of the stuff I had.
The one you wrote before that was Aberdeen, Maryland train station event.
Yeah, that was
Christmas Eve, 43.
That was sad. That was
Oh, I'm
sad.
sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Every Saturday there was a special train that took all the people that had passes for the weekend. It would stop in Philadelphia, and I don't think it even stopped in Trenton. It stopped in Newark. I used to get out of Newark and come back to Elizabeth, then into New York. And they used some old coaches that, it was wartime, they were having trouble with equipment, you know, getting enough freight cars, enough passenger cars for all the stuff they had to do. So, I used to stand back because the train would come in and it would go slow, but just a little faster than a fast walk, maybe a light trot. And the GIs would all be running alongside of it. That's not a good idea, you know. So when Christmas Eve came, boy, everybody was wanting to get out of there so bad. They were really running, packed up against that train. And I stood back and I said, "Oh, let me, where's that wall?" And then I see, as the train's moving along, there was a whack. It was the WAHC, Women's Auxiliary Army Corps. That's what they called them back then.
Yeah.
And she was, about my height, I guess. She was screaming and hollering. She's running along with the train crying. I said, "What's the matter with this woman, you know?" So anyway, the train stopped. They all piled on, and I waited. I got on. I started walking through the train. I wanted to find a seat. And these cars were so old, they had open vestibules. You could look down and see the tracks, right? So I'm going from one car to the next. I look down at the track, and the one nearest the station, it's all red. Then I see a garrison cap laying over there. So I walk into the car. Halfway through the car, on my left, there's a bunch of guys throwing up. What the hell's going on here? So I saw one had a carton of chocolate milk and it spilled all over the floor. I walked to the next car and I found a seat, and I opened the window. I looked out. It was the engineer and one of the conductors. They were pulling what was left of this poor guy. Got pushed under the train out onto the platform. Okay, and this is Christmas Eve. That's not a good time. So eventually the camp came down with the ambulance and the medical people, and they took him away. But before they took him away, the train was. The engineer got in and we pulled out of the station and went home. So, you know, I figured, well, that's the end of it, poor guy. Next week I had an in with the post clerk, so the company clerk. So I got another pass. And I'm in a taxi with a bunch of guys. We're going, and they were talking about the accident. And this was the thing that got me. They said the guy was on his way to Philadelphia. His mother, father, girl's mother and father, they were going to get married on Christmas. It got me right here. Too much. So that was one that said, you know.
So sorry.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on then. Troop train night stop at Rockport Inn.
Illinois.
Sorry, Illinois.
That was a troop train. We were rattling along through the night time. Lights out, 10 o'clock. We come to a stop, and I look at the station. So I open the window, I'm looking right into the station. I said, "No, what are we doing in the middle of the night in front of this stupid station. And I'm looking close, you know, they were dimly lit. All across the front of the station, from where you can see it beyond, all these people standing up against the wall. Well, come on, you can't be getting on the train, it's a troop train. So out of the gloom, here comes all these young girls. Each one had a basket. They went up to the windows, gave us a gift. And they wish you luck, God bless you, come back. That got to me. That got to me.
Oh, that's a great story. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah, I got it. And I figured that what went in to put this together, you know? These people had to think about it. They just didn't get up from supper and say, well, let's get down to the station and wait for a troop train. You know, this was all work.
Organized, yeah.
All the baskets. Well, all right, it was 5 and dime stuff. You know, shave and brush, comb.
Yeah.
You know, but it was the thought. That was what.
It's kind of like what they do now for the ones over in the desert, right? They
Yeah.
give them the baby wipes and things that they need, yeah.
So then we chugged off into the night. And I was always going to thought that maybe I should write a letter to the mayor and tell him to thank the people. And one of those things you never get around to doing what you're supposed to do. And, but it made such an impression that, you know, they come down here this late at night. The parents wait for the girls. And it was just nice. I loved it.
I love that story. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I guess that's after you were already done working in Aberdeen.
Yeah, well, they caught up to me and they shipped me. They were sending me to the bad place.
Did you get a chance to have a leave to go back to Jersey?
Yeah, if I remember correctly now, they gave us 14 days
Right.
in transit leave, yeah.
And the war in Japan was still happening, or in the Pacific?
Over there, that was just about the time they invaded Okinawa. That's where I went out.
Okay.
I got to see, I wasn't, the crew, or the operation I was with was not for the war on Okinawa. It was for the war on Japan direct. Everything, the island was so loaded with material, I was afraid it was going to sink. Everything you could think of was all over the place.
So where did your train take you to?
We went clean across the country. We got to, the next day after the Rockport, we got to Council Bluffs, Iowa, by the Mississippi River. And the train stopped. And in railroading, there's a set of tracks they call Y. Here's the main line, and then you can back up this way, go back up this way, and it makes one track. So we're backing around for whatever reason, who knows. And there was a western type fence made of logs with all weeds and stuff growing around it. And there used to be a song back then called, I forget what's the name of it. But anyway, some of the words went, there's a tumble down shack by an old railroad track. And there's a little old lady waiting there with silvery hair, waiting by the shack for whoever's coming. Anyway, we were backing around. There was the shack. Holy smoke, look at this. Then, outside was a very old woman. I mean, she was really old. And she had this big apron, and she was sobbing her eyes out. You poor boys, you're all about to get killed. Oh, it's thanks, lady. We need it.
Whoa.
That's what we need.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. And she's wiping her eyes. Oh, looking at all the guys in troop train. So thank God we went over into Nebraska. And funny thing, over there, the state bird is the